Hi, I'm Bill Kron, and along with my Bethel responsibilities working with you folks, I also am an assistant principal at a middle school and have been working in secondary school administration for about 20 years. One of the things that I do that is most enjoyable to me in my job, and I think most important, is to hire staff members. So the presentation that we're about to do will be about getting the job, something I have a lot of experience with, and please know that I want to be a resource with you starting now and moving on through the rest of your career. First of all, the Washington University resource that is in the Moodle site offers basic examples and advice for cover letters and resume. I really encourage you to research samples and styles that help you to communicate who you are and how you are. Again, those are basic examples, and you can add a little bit of your charisma in with any other materials. I encourage you not to go too far out there with your choices. I once had a great teacher candidate create a narrative for his cover letter and resume that analogized his career path to a kayak journey. He put time and effort into making his materials thematic and connected. He included images and signposts along the way. It was wonderfully done, but I discouraged him from eventually using it because I felt that interview teams and administrators might be reluctant to bring him forward. I encourage you to stay focused on teaching and learning, and again, don't go too far out there. You want to add your charisma, but remember that teaching and learning are the thing that they want to know about the folks who are hiring you. Remember, this is a marketing campaign, and you will brand yourself. You really want to be aware of who you are and how you appear to those hiring committees. There is no filtering class that administrators take. We screen, we interview, we hire based on the needs of our building, of our kids, of our preferences, and our experiences. There is not one formula out there to get the job. It's very important that you be yourself at every step of the process. We look for consistency, we look for experience and presentation, we look for your insights. Be yourself, as that's who you'll be for the rest of your career. And schools are looking for a fit, and so are you. I tell folks all the time, you're working towards a job offer, not necessarily a position, but once you get that offer, then you get to decide whether you want to take that job or not. If you haven't started thinking about the job hunt, it's time. Start now. Have conversations with people that you work with during your student teaching. Ask for feedback. Be very engaged. I tell folks all the time that your student teaching experience is really like a very long job interview. Know that people are paying attention. They want to know and learn about you so they can decide if they want to work with you. You need to be actively engaged in the school and actively engaged in your classroom experiences. One of the tips I give folks all the time is to observe other teachers, and not just in your discipline. Get to a different teacher who works outside of your discipline and see what they do, see how they do it, and make as many connections as you can in the school. The best tip I have for you is to ask an administrator in your student teaching placement building to watch you work and give you feedback. I'll say it again. The best tip that I have is for you to ask an administrator to watch you work and give you feedback. That will give you connections. That says a lot about you and your motivation, and you're looking for a job. The process includes your research, application materials, interviewing, and then your decision making. So I'm going to talk about each of those things for just a little while. Application materials. Every school district will have an online application process. It's important that you research each school district and completely answer all the questions connecting the dots between you and the position. Schools want to know who you are, but they also want to know how you're going to make their schools better. Be prepared with your reference letters and your contact information as you start filling out those applications. It's important that you print and proof your applications. I'll say it again, print those applications so you know what it's going to look like when those hiring committees print it off and have it around the table. Save these for your other districts and other postings that you may apply for. There's no use in redoing or re-answering questions or coming up with new answers to questions that you've already taken care of. So save those responses. It's very important that when you're applying for positions that you meet all the deadlines and timelines. Not doing so will just take you out of the running. And I also encourage applicants to follow up with the building principal. That could be with an email or a card saying, hey, I've applied, I'm looking forward to hearing back from you. The next step in the hiring process or getting hired process is cover letters. It's important to have a cover letter. Most districts will ask you to provide a cover letter, a resume, and references. As you start working on your cover letter, find some keywords and use those keywords that are in the posting or in the school's website to match your experience to the job they're looking to hire. Do your research with conversation, through the website, make any connections, anyone that you know who knows anything about the building that you're applying for. Make it easy for them to learn about you and your cover letter. Anticipate what they will like or dislike. Do some research. When you start working on your cover letter, it's important to avoid empty or fluffy language. We see a lot of this. You want to use words that allow me to picture it. Does the opposite sound dumb? And what I mean by that is if in your cover letter you say, I love working with students and families, the opposite of that is, of course, I don't love working with students and families. So instead, give specifics, something like, I challenge myself each and every morning to be 100% engaged with my students and with my lesson. Sentences and words like that help them see who you are and see how you're going to add to their school. I tell folks all the time that verbs and nouns are more impactful than adjectives. Use a variety of action words to start your phrases. Your language that you use is important and people are paying attention. As you put together your cover letter, answer the questions that you anticipate they'll want to know about you. To whom are you writing and why do they care? As a reader, can I picture what you've written and can your claims be proven? Every word in your letter needs to be spelled correctly and the grammar needs to be perfect. Your resume and letter need to be attractive, they need to be easy to read, they need to be clear. I encourage you to share your work with other people, friends, your cooperating teacher, other colleagues, to get some feedback and have them take a look at your application materials because that can be really helpful to know what other people think about it. The steps to writing your cover letter. First of all, establish the audience and your reason for writing. It's very important to consider the point of view of the employer. Think about your strengths. Think about the challenges. Think about the opportunities that you might present to the school, and think about potential concerns they may have about you. Create sample sentences and possible paragraphs for your cover letter. Then I encourage you, the next step is to write a fast draft. Put it out there, and then when you get that done, edit and proofread it ruthlessly. There are some common errors that we see oftentimes in cover letters. One can be a lack of focus. It's important that you be very direct. You want to get to the point and then get out. Poor sentence structure or bad grammar is oftentimes a definite trip to the no pile. Take care of those. Misspelled words, typographical errors, same thing. It's important that you know your audience, right from the greeting to the finish. It's important to identify who are you sending this to. Sprinkle in the school and what they're looking for, keywords from their posting, and show the connections between the job and to you. A few other thoughts on cover letters. I encourage writers to consider it kind of like a cover letter haiku. 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. Keep it short, keep it simple. There are 3 parts to a good cover letter: the job and how you learned about it. Next is a paragraph about your experience, and finally it's important to connect the two. I encourage writers to create a hook, maybe that can be carried through the process of application, the letter of interest, and even the resume. And if you have a theme that runs throughout, maybe it's not kayaking, that could really be helpful for you as they get to know who you are. I encourage you to read the posting carefully, pay attention to keywords, repeated words, skills, or other points of interest. Know if the school, for example, is a math or science specialty school. That's going to come up in the interview. They're going to want to see some evidence that you know that in the resume and in the cover letter. It's important to be aware of and use other resources available to you. Those include the people that you've worked with in your student teaching, include anyone that you know at the building for which you're applying.